Hello everybody, how's it going? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. And that time has finally come. That very special time when we have a brand new season of Stranger Things. I mean, obviously, you guys know how to read video titles, right? And I apologize if it looks like I'm glistening right now, but I kind of am because it's hotter than the devil's taint where I'm standing. But anyway, like every other review video that I've ever done or most other people do, there usually tends to be a score at the end of it, generally. However, if you couldn't tell from my excitement that this is one of those rare occasions where I am extremely biased and I'm probably gonna watch this show or continue to keep watching the show, even if this season really sucked. And I'm not saying that this season sucked by any stretch. However, there are certain things that I'm just a sucker for because I'm so attached to the characters for whatever reason. If you want to know my specific thoughts for the first two seasons of Stranger Things, I'll leave links in the description. But generally speaking, I loved the first season. It's one of the most immaculate things I've ever seen in a TV show. Granted, I don't watch that much TV, so take that with however big of a grain of salt you want. And basically in season 2, I thought there was a bit of a dip in quality, but overall, I was really impressed and I was pretty happy with it. And unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but I really don't know how to feel about the season because there's, without a doubt, some of the absolute worst shit in the entire series happens in this season. But at the same token, there are also many multiple strokes of narrative genius that happen, and it's really hard to like find that balance to whether I think it's a really great season or a really swing and a miss. So I'm gonna have to sit down and rewatch this and maybe do like a spoiler review or do like a deep dive podcast or something, because there's a lot of very specific things that I would like to talk about, but I'll try and keep this review as vague as humanly possible. I can definitively tell you though that the first 2 episodes of this season in particular, I was not a big fan of. But the good news is the most consistent part about the entire season was the fact that they really expanded the lore of the Upside Down and all the crazy shit that goes on down there. And the way they built that up in the first 2 episodes was really good, but there was a whole bunch of other like acting and weird character moments that it just really made me like, ugh, kind of like cringe while I was watching it. But there were some other moments that I thought were natural character progressions or funny moments that actually worked, so it was really tonally ridiculous in the first couple episodes. Oh, and by the way, the basic plot of this season is pretty much the same as the other 2 seasons. It's about a bunch of kids in this small town of Hawkins and they're trying to fight off some supernatural shit that comes and buggers up the town. But this time there may or may not be Russians involved. But still, first 2 episodes kind of didn't work for me, but then as soon as the 3rd episode came, I was like, you know what? I think they might have gotten me back on board. Because when episode 3 started, I was kind of losing faith and I was just like, God damn it. But then seemingly out of nowhere, I felt like it got a little bit more serious with that episode, and I don't remember who directed each one, but I felt way more curious about what was gonna happen next after that one. Because there's a lot of moments where it felt like it was a bad Saturday Night Live sketch in the first couple episodes, but then in the 3rd one, there's a real serious conversation that happens between Will and Mike. And then from that point on, all the silly, stupid, ridiculous moments, they got less and less frequent, to the point where by the end of episode 5, I was just like, fucking yes! Like, finally, we're back on board, like, this is what I signed up for. That's not to say that the last 4 episodes were anything close to immaculate, but I was way more on board with most of the things. One of the things I wasn't on board with, and it's really a bummer to say this, is that they did Jim Hopper in such a shitty way this time around. And David Harbour doesn't do a bad job of acting. That's one thing I'm not complaining about, is just the majority of the acting, everybody tried their absolute best, even if the script really sucked. And David Harbour was his usual awesome self. However, the character just, I don't like the way they're going with it. Because I don't know if you remember in the first season, but almost every episode, he just knocks some motherfucker out at some point or another, and he does not take bullshit, he doesn't take nonsense, he is 100% business. Granted, characters are meant to develop and change somewhat throughout the arc of a show, but I don't think this direction was logical. Again, he just felt like he was in a bunch of bad SNL sketches over and over again. And this is a very minor detail, it's not spoiling anything, but there is a scene where somebody is detained, let's say, and in the middle of that, there is an argument over the flavor of Slurpees. I wish that was a fucking joke. And yes, I understand the show is fictional. It's meant to be like an alternate version of reality with a bunch of sci-fi shit going on. But the whole first season had a very consistently light-hearted seriousness of a tone, if that makes any sense. Whereas in this season, they were really trying to go for like the slapstick, sticky, schlocky, whatever you want to call it, kind of humor. And it just felt like very disingenuous, and I didn't connect with it as much. But you know what? Enough of the negatives, because like I said, I'm biased. I fucking love this show. Let's talk about all the good things. First of all, the music. Fire as usual. Second of all, probably the absolute best thing about the show is that the way they handle relationships in every facet and whatever, it doesn't matter what age you are. The way this show portrayed people when they're trying to tackle their issues when it comes to people they like or people they're already in a relationship with, or whether they used to be in a past relationship with, and how people go to their friends for advice and how that sometimes that advice is a bunch of bullshit. They literally poke holes in every single facet of what it means to have any type of romance in your life, And I thought it was fucking brilliant. And that's what I'm talking about when I say there are just random little narrative strokes of genius, and it happens repeatedly throughout the entire series. That was the one consistent thing that I liked a lot. And on top of that, in my opinion, I thought the monsters looked a lot cooler this time around. Yeah, sure, it may be a giant sci-fi CGI fest, but you know what? For me, it worked. I liked it. It felt like the stakes were upped. And there was also some new characters, which I very much enjoyed. There's a new character that Steve is friends with. Her name is Robin. Loved everything about that character. Literally everything. Actually, you know what? Let me backtrack a little bit. There are a couple of characters that I absolutely despise that are brand new. The characters Jonathan and Nancy, they both get jobs at a local newspaper because, you know, he's a photographer and she wants to, you know, go into writing or journalism or whatever. And there's some characters that are kind of hanging out in that news headquarters boardroom that are just plainly terrible characters. Granted, shows do need some, like, element of hateability to certain characters, like Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. Like, you hate her, but you also are very interested in what she's gonna do next because she's unpredictable. The problem this time around is that not only are these characters hateable, they're also really annoying, their jokes are terrible, and I know they're meant to be played as terrible, but after a while, their jokes just got really, really old, and they just tried to, like, beat you over the head with that whole aspect of it, and I was just like, dude, can we just, for fuck's sake, can we move on? But yeah, other than that, I really liked the way the show went. I liked the way it ended. I liked everything with Mike and Eleven, and especially Dustin. I thought Dustin really shined in this one. And of course, the chemistry between all the characters and the way that they interact, that was all there. So there was a lot of really good things about it. And of course, I'm gonna stick around for season 4 because, like I said, I'm biased. So anyway, overall, that being said, I really enjoy the show. It's still one of my favorite shows that I've ever seen, but there's a multitude of parts, particularly in the first 2 episodes, that were just kind of a slog fest, and I really hope that they skip some of that stuff in the future seasons. And if any of you guys like this season, you think I'm totally crazy, totally fine, no hatred towards you whatsoever. But given the tone and consistency of the first 2 seasons, I have to say that this one kind of fell off a little bit for me. But you know what? Not every season is going to be perfect, and I have faith. I feel like they're going to do better in the future. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you seen the show yet? Have you seen this season yet? Are you excited? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. And if you guys want to see a spoiler review, hop in the comments. Let me know that too. And other than that, if you like this review, give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that other happy horse shit. And I will catch you guys later.